talk about Cyclops and X-Men Manhunt, because this guy was going through it. If you're not familiar, X-Men Manhunt is about Professor Xavier breaking out of the Greymalkin prison. Currently, Xavier has a tumor in his head that's killing him. Also, his daughter in space, who's a whole empress, is in trouble. So basically, Xavier's been going around to the different X-Men teams and through the X-Men books on his Eddie Guerrero, just lying, cheating, and stealing, asking different people for help, but still having his own motives. He was in NYX saying, oh, we gotta get this Krakoan seed back, but that was a lie. He then had the nerve to go to Storm and ask for asylum in her sanctuary, which then had her beefing with Scott, because he was like, what the fuck is this about? Nah, let's take his ass back to that jail. Which is out of character, even though I get where he's coming from, because my man was in the fucking gulag. But if it was in character, Scott would be like, hey, how about we actually make him accountable for his actions and we're the ones watching over him? That would have been a much more suitable answer, but whatever, comic books, we're here. Now Storm and Cyclops are going at it, which is wild because, wait a minute, didn't Xavier try to invade your mind, Storm? You had to push him out and you told him not to fucking talk to you ever again? I out here harboring this man, okay. And Scott was fighting her in her sanctuary where he knew she wouldn't go all powered up because she'd blow up the fucking spot. So he was pushing her power, but what he didn't count on was Eternity and how she is his herald now, and Eternity took over and then she just froze Scott from the inside out. But he had a plan for that. Then he jumped into X Factor and we find out that Xavier was actually harboring one of the last eggs from Krakoa that he used to bring back his wife, Lilandra, who they share a daughter with. And with the help of Sage from X-Force, she gives him a ride to escape Earth with, but Scott Summers is hounding this man. He's searching all over for Xavier. He's with Magic checking out this one place, and they see Xavier's ship leaving the atmosphere. He's like, oh, no. And we see him and Magic have a dope twist on the fastball special. He gives her an alley-oop, she gets on her sword like a surfboard, and he hits it with his optic blast. They call it the Red Surfer technique. Magic's able to slash the ship. Turns out that ship's a decoy, and she summons a giant kaiju from Limbo and has to square up with this big metal mech that John Wraith is piloting. Wraith and Sage doing a whole lot to get Xavier off this rock. Cyclops goes to check on Magic because that's basically his daughter, man. And she tells him, hey, I'm fine. We know where they're going, Slim. He's like, yo, you know I hate being called that. And we're going to address that in a second. And she's like, hey, I'm laying here bleeding out. I think I get a pass. And she teleports him onto the actual ship that Xavier is with Lilandra on. Mind you, she just got done doing surgery on Xavier in order to get that tumor out of his head too. And now Xavier is confronting Scott on top of that ship. Xavier's really gaslighting this man like, yo, what is your problem, Scott? What do you want from me, man? You hate my guts that much? I try to leave, but you don't want me to go. You want me to suffer or you can't stand to be without me? And Scott Summers is like, are you fucking, what kind of, you killed innocent people in front of me and made me watch. Referencing when Orchis had Xavier blow up this spaceship full of humans that was going to throw a wrench in their plans. However, Xavier reveals, hey, that was an illusion, man. It was a lie and a deception, which was news to me, but apparently came out in X-Men Xavier's Secret, which is basically a retcon saying that Xavier put a ghost crew on there to make it look like it was the actual astronauts, but it wasn't, just some clones were entirely mindless and not even really alive. And the reason he did it was so that mutant kind and humankind could all hate him, so that he could be the big bad villain. Which is like, I mean, if we're okay. Xavier's telling Scott, look, I ain't losing my daughter, man. I'm leaving this planet. Scott's like, yo, we could have helped your daughter. Mind you, Scott's not bringing up that Xavier shot and killed his daughter in order to kickstart the Phoenix. Honestly, the fall of X was so confusing. But either way, I'm rocking with Scott Summers, and he's telling Xavier, I'd rather die on this hill than let you leave. Xavier tells Scott, she won't let you kill yourself. He's like, who's she? What are you talking about? And then we see Aurora Monroe storm across the globe with the lightning bow and arrow ready to let that shit go. She says, sorry, brother, this hunt is over. And then Cyclops get hit with a lightning bolt from halfway across the globe. Fun fact, because Scott Summers' mutant ability has him basically being a battery for energy, lightning doesn't affect him that much. Scott is falling, but then the Uncanny X-Men show up along with his team, and Rogue catches him, and he's like, this ain't a Hallmark moment. Yo, Quentin, make sure these fuckers don't leave orbit. Which means they're bringing out the big gun, and they have a cannon on the Marauder ship, and Quentin has Temper loaded up in that cannon. She's the big gun. With her ability over temperature coming out of a fucking cannon, Xavier and Lilandra are done. Problem is, she misses because John Wraith, the teleporter that Magic was fighting, moved the ship. And Scott Summers is freaking out. Scott's telling everybody, yo, you don't get it. He's the trophy catch and he's gone now. With him gone, they're going to come for us even harder. When Scott was talking to Rogue earlier in this issue, they was talking about having space for everybody's dream. All these different dreams that everyone has. Storm's, NYX's dream, even Rogue's dream. And Scott's telling Rogue, yo, they won't stop till everybody's dream is gone. Don't you see that? We lose. We lose again. We always lose. And this dude is gone. We see Scott just breathing heavy and his powers just explode. Scott Summers is having a panic attack. This was foreshadowed over in his X-Men book as well, back when he was calming himself down after a meeting with Lundqvist, saying he'd step to the United States government again if he had to, which he did. And now everything has just come to a head. Rogue is telling Logan, yo, we can't get close to him. He's having a panic attack. We're going to get back to that for a second. Logan's walking up on Scott saying, yo, when the way of the world crashes down, you always put yourself between it and everybody else. You probably think that Krakoa falling is your fault, and you feel it's your Boy Scout duty to bring a new age. Charles's dream, Magneto's dream, the Krakoan dream, Storm's dream. Every dream on the surface of the planet you want to fight for. Well, I got something to tell you, bub. It's time to wake up. And then he stabs him. This is not how you handle someone having a panic attack. Also, Rogue is there. She has invulnerability. She can touch this man and drain his abilities. That is an option, but no. We're gonna go with Wolverine just straight up stabbing dude. And it's not a shallow stab. That shit's going through Scott's back. I thought he was dead. We then see Xavier escape, but then he comes back because he's like, nah, I don't want to leave things like this. And he has all the X-Men teams meet him. And when we see the X-Men teams coming in, Scott is alive, thank God. And Wolverine's talking to them like, hey man, sorry I had to poke you. Scott's like, don't worry, it wasn't that deep. It wasn't that, sir, his claws are going through your body. Scott lets him know, I don't know why you called us here. I don't give a fuck. Nothing's changed for me. And he tells Scott, yo, why we fighting amongst each other, man? That's what the man wants. Also, I'm retiring. He tells everybody, I never wanted to be a general. I just wanted to be a professor. Cap. You had a whole child army. This is your first child soldier right here. Whatever. Xavier's like, you know what? I think you guys are the best chance going forward for a new era. And he's basically making this announcement to all mutants across the world. And he's like, all right, well, I'm out here. Also, build another school. And Scott's like, wait a minute, hold on. Xavier tells Scott, yo, you got the heaviest burden of all because they'll all look to you because you are who you are. And then Xavier's like, all right, I gotta go save my daughter now. And we see Emma Frost telling him, you bastard, you utter bastard. Go and be happy as she kisses him on the cheek goodbye. No. And then we see this page where there's different X-Men tearing up over Xavier leaving. Okay, here's the thing. Comic books is a lot like wrestling. There's all this years of history, and as a fan, you want to be rewarded for having known or read all those years of history. So you want a story to stay consistent. Krakoa brought about a lot of new change and character growth. The fall of Krakoa was a return back to the status quo of everybody hating mutants and them having no place for themselves. And the dismantling of Krakoa and that whole fall was really ham-fisted because a lot of that consistency is now inconsistent. And it's a small thing, but if we're talking about consistency, why was he annoyed when Magic called him Slim? Slim was his original name. He debuted as Slim Summers. It was later changed to Scott, but everybody called him Slim as a nickname later on. Those close to him call him Slim. He was annoyed when Quentin Quire did it because obviously he just did it to annoy him, but it's a term of endearment for Cyclops. And back when he was on the Champions, when he was younger and brought to our present timeline, after running with the Psycho Man left him mad manic, and he was confessing a bunch of things he wouldn't normally say and wasn't being repressed anymore, he told everybody how he loved being called Slim. It made him feel cool to have a nickname. So again, the switch up here is just kind of odd. And we're seeing characters not act like themselves because there's no way that Emma Frost would kiss Xavier and tell him to go and be happy. That woman hates that man. Hates that man. She don't like him. Mystique hates Xavier's guts. She don't like that man. This man, John Proudstar, when he met Xavier, he told him to go stuff a cactus, Custard. The only reason he should be crying is because he didn't get to punch Xavier since he got resurrected. Melee and Bronze are here. You don't even know Xavier. And Sunfire, I'm pretty sure doesn't give a fuck about Xavier. I think David got the best face like, he'll be back in like a year or two at best. But yeah, this was rough because a lot of folks here don't fuck with that man. If the focus was holding Xavier accountable for what he's done, that would have added a lot more heart to this event. There's so much character development and character dynamics that were kind of ignored because Magneto was here, but he didn't say a damn thing to Xavier. That doesn't make any sense. Ooh, it's rough being an X-Men fan, yo.